Welcome back to another episode of RecTalk. I'm your host, Nitin Sharma of RecTools.io. If you are in recruitment, which I'm hoping you are, because you wouldn't be listening to this podcast otherwise, probably. If you're in recruitment, you're looking to take advantage of some AI tools and you want to just get started and trial it out and see if it's right for you, might I suggest our free-to-use AI playground. So we've got the version 2 now of our job ad generator. You pop in the job title of what you're recruiting for, the location, the industry that it's in, and then 3 key selling points, and let the AI do the rest. We've trained and worked on it in the background to act as a recruiter, so there's no further prompts needed. There's no kind of GPT hacks that you need to throw into there. It all works. It works very well and is used by a whopping 1,500 users as of this week. That's at RecTools.io, and remember, if you're in recruitment, it's free for you to use. My guest today is the founder, CEO of Recruitment Ops. I'm going to get the name right.
Yep.
I'm going to get the name right. Because I was like, Recruitment Ops Mentoring. Yes. It's new. It's a new concept, and I really like what we've been talking about. But my guest today is Natasha South of Recruitment Ops Mentoring. Thank you for taking the time to come on and sharing kind of your insights and stuff. We've done a lot of talking off camera of some really interesting stuff, but look, over to you. Tell us, what is Recruitment Ops Mentoring and why is it that that's something you're doing?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on today. I think the main thing for me is I've been working in the recruitment sector for about 13, 14 years now. Mm-hmm. I was originally a recruiter, worked as a tech recruiter back in the day, tiny little startup, moved over into the operations role, sort of built my career up into the sort of operations director position. Mm-hmm. I think I had a really unique insight in that the company that I sort of grew a lot of my career with, Camino Partners, they were the only consultancy in the country that specialises purely in placing people like me, i.e. those non-sales roles, into other recruitment businesses. So I was kind of going along that journey myself of building an operations function from scratch. So I was the first person that went in at a senior level to grow that business out. And I was going through various challenges in that, we were looking to triple, quadruple headcount. We launched internationally. We launched multiple brands. We dealt with COVID. We dealt with all of those things that have kind of happened in the sector over the last few years. And I was in a lucky position in that when I needed help, or if I needed insight into something, or if there wasn't something that I knew how to do, because of our network, I had a database of people in front of me that were doing the same job as me, that were going through those challenges, that had already been through those challenges. And particularly when I was looking at things like my career progression, every year I would be like, right, what do I need to do to get my next promotion? Tell me, what do I need to learn? What do I need to be showing? What are those next steps? And my CEO, Sachin, was always like, right, go and find out. Go and do that. Go and find out. Speak to the sector. Speak to the network. Yeah, okay. And I would just, I was really lucky because I had that network in front of me. So I just started phoning people and being like, so have you done this? Have you got any advice for me on this? And from that, I sort of built a little community, which was originally just a WhatsApp group. Right. And I started putting all of us together, and people were contacting me being like, oh, have you gone through this? Or do you know anyone I can talk to? And I'd be like, yeah, actually I do. Yeah. And the WhatsApp group itself kind of exploded, and we've now got circa 100 ops professionals in the recruitment sector. It's a really, really active group. And what I love about it is, there's so much engagement and people are really open to helping each other. And over the years, what I realized is we were all in the same position, and it's actually a really lonely position to be in. So when you are an ops manager, ops director, et cetera, for an SME recruitment business, you are usually completely alone and you are covering everything. So you are in that position where you are the marketing person, you are the HR person, you are the legal and compliance person, sometimes you're the finance person as well. And it's really hard from like a knowledge and skills perspective for you to go and for you to learn all of those things, right?
There's no one to learn from.
Exactly. This is it. So you are usually the person that is paving the way for that. And over the years with Camino, they were super supportive of me, particularly with our events and stuff like that, where I was able to go out into the sector and be like, right, I'm going to put on events around how do we progress? What do those progression roles look like? I'm going to put events on over specific education points around how we're implementing certain policies, or when, you know, the dreaded GDPR came out, we were doing lots of content because literally no one knew what they were doing. And as I started kind of building my network and reaching out to people and having these conversations, I realized that we were all saying the same thing, and that we were going into these roles. We had no training. There usually wasn't someone above us who we could learn from. The majority of the time we are making it up as we go along. And I realized that actually, wouldn't it be so impactful to the recruitment businesses themselves if we put a little bit of structure around that? And actually, rather than people having to go through this trial and error process, or having to spend loads of time going out and researching and, you know, having to learn each of those topics themselves, if we actually presented them with, you know, a checklist of here's what you need to know.
Yeah, almost sort of standardise it of like, this is the framework you need to be kind of working to. Okay.
Exactly. And towards the end of my career with Camino, I was conducting a little bit of research, and I was looking at specifically career paths. And we all know there is so much research into why sort of career clarity and stuff like that is really important for your engagement, for your motivation. You know, that builds business success by having people that are in those positions that want to be there.
Yeah, but your CEO or kind of owner of the business has to buy into that ideology, right?
Yeah.
Because essentially, what they're doing is they're bringing these people in to run their business for them.
Exactly. And if you speak to recruitment business owners about their ops person, they'll be like, we could not survive without that person. They were like, they know that person like runs. And the great quote that Sachin always used is that we're the glue that holds the business together. And without that glue, like, the business cannot operate. It definitely cannot grow.
So why the lack of investment in that area then? If there's an acknowledgement of the importance of that function, why the lack of investment?
I think it's simply that because it is not fee generative, there is a struggle for sort of sales and recruitment people to see the true value. Like, it's almost seen as something that you have to have, rather than something that you want to have, that you want to invest in, that you want to move forward. Because you can't, as an ops person, although actually I believe you can, as an ops person, show how you are directly contributing to increasing revenue.
Just don't turn up for a week.
Yeah, well, this is it.
No, but like, genuinely, right? Just don't turn up for a week. Oh, what do you do? Well, I'll show you. Yeah. I'm not being here for a week. I'll show you what I do, because you'll miss me. You're right.
This is it. You go on holiday, and all of a sudden, everyone is like, "Oh dear God! Like, we don't know how to. We don't know how to do this. We don't know how to do that. You know, all of those things." And I think for me, it was looking at some really like quite upsetting statistics around like only 25% of ops professionals are even set personal development objectives. So at the start of the year, when most people are going through, right, here's what our personal development plans are for the year. If you're a recruiter, you get sat down and you're told this is
roadmapped to right to business manager, isn't it? Right. You know, from today in your squeaky wheels all the way through to you're going to be running a business unit, and this is how much you need to bill along the way.
Exactly.
Whereas with an ops manager, I suppose, if you're in that kind of mentality of kind of promoting based on billings and promoting based on kind of reward scheme. Yeah. How do you do that with an ops manager?
This is it. And part of that is it's a lack of education, but somewhat a lack of wanting to get educated on it, if that makes sense. I think a lot of the time people in these positions are kind of taken a little bit for granted, in that they they understand that they are essential to the business, but there's nothing proactive.
Do you think by empowering them, though, that the directors worry that they will realise how important they are and therefore put the business at risk by holding them to ransom for pay rises and or kind of... Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. So if I'm a business owner, which I ran a recruitment business. I didn't have a recruitment ops manager. Me and my business partner played that role, right? And we grew to a sizable size. In my head, I'm thinking if I'm a big corporate, or I've come from a big corporate, then I'm going to automatically be like, when I'm mapping out my team, I need an ops person because I've always had that. So I always see the relevance and importance of having that person. But also at the same time, I mean, this person is practically running my business for me. You know, do I really want this person to start looking at themselves as, I'm running your business for you? You know, you are turning over 4 million quid a year and I should have a cut of that pie. Now let's talk about my personal development. Because, okay, so where do you go from recruitment ops manager to recruitment ops director? Then where do you go from there? Do you want shareholding? You know, do you know what I mean? And so that's probably a scary conversation for a CEO to kind of be like, I brought Natasha in to kind of run my shit for me, but I don't want her to know that she's running my shit for me. Because the minute she realises that she's running my shit for me, then I'm in a lot of trouble. You know?
So I think it's that classic quote, isn't it, around what happens if you invest in people and they leave versus what happens if you don't and they stay. And for me, I think any businesses that are looking to grow, it is an absolute no-brainer to be developing and investing in the people who literally build that infrastructure for you. Like, if you have someone that can come into that position or can be shown tried and tested ways, rather than them having to go through a trial and error process or work it out for themselves, that only benefits you as a business.
And why would you want them to go through trial and error? Right?
This is
it.
Every
error costs you.
This is it. And, you know, and that's kind of my point, is I went through that throughout my whole career in operations. Like, I had to just go, right, I think this is going to work. Let's have a go. Thankfully, a lot of the time it worked, but also there were times that it didn't. And there are things where I'm like, actually, if I had known X, Y, Z, or I had had contact with this person and this person had given me X, Y, Z advice, I wouldn't have had to go through that process and you know, have things not go the way that you needed them to go in the first place. And I also think it's that, like, engagement and investment. You should want that person to want to be a shareholder. You should want that person to want to go from being an employee to being a leader to being a shareholder, because ultimately, think about the investment that you've got from someone that's driving.
But there's your retention tool as well, right?
Exactly.
Are you scared that this person's going to leave and go and do it for themselves? Well, if they've got skin in the game, they're not going to do that, are they?
Exactly.
If they felt valued along the way,
This is it.
It's an interesting one, because I think there's, and we spoke about this off camera, right? There's a bit of a genesis going on, I think, within the industry. And I think a lot of recruitment businesses are going to kind of either have to change or kind of perish. There are very similar things going on within the adoption of kind of marketing as a concept. You know,
100%.
A lot of recruitment businesses saw that as like a waste of money. I can't directly put revenue to that, and therefore it's not needed. And almost like RevOps sat within, you sort of, recruitment ops people sat within that as well, right? I need them because, I need them, but I don't know how much the money they're generating for me.
Exactly.
Because I can't, quantify it like I can with my billers. But it's like that mentality really needs to start shifting.
And also, if you think about the fact that, like we said, that there's going to be this change, who is it that's managing that change? It is your operations people. They are the people that are, looking at the tech that's being implemented. They're gonna project manage that, implement it, and actually drive the usage of it. And do you want someone who's never done that before? Like, we know how expensive tech is, and also if you fuck it up, it is monumentally expensive to your business. And the fact that we kind of, the first 2 CRM migrations I did, like I had no support on it. And it was only by the third one that I actually had someone and I was like, oh, this is so much easier than the 2 times.
Holding your hand.
Yeah. And,
Who's been there and done that? Yeah.
I had learned the hard way. Yeah. And then to go into this position where I was working with Kamal, and I was just like, oh, okay, there is an easier way to do this, and it's what I'm trying to do with this program is it's around actual sort of practical training as well. So looking at identifying skills gaps and filling in or directing how to fill in that knowledge of XYZ, because operations is hugely varied. It depends on whether you are in a standalone role. You might have, a marketing person or a HR person or a compliance person.
Some of those duties might be divvied out. But the majority, by and large, might still be on your plate. Yeah.
And you also, if you want to go up a career path, once you're getting into that ops director, COO type role, all of those things need to sit under you as well. So it's around helping people. Classic quote that I always say is, I don't know what I don't know. And it has taken me years and years. And I still say that now. And I still have my own mentors. I still have my own training that I do. I'm still developing myself. And what I'm hoping to do with this is kind of pass on all of that knowledge that I've gained from 14, nearly 15 years in the sector. But also empower people to kind of be like, you can really add value to the recruitment businesses that you're working in. And actually what I'm going to train you on is how to set up an ops function that does directly show that you're generating and contributing to revenue, or you're saving money, right? Everything that we do is sales enablement.
6 and 2 3s, isn't it? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I think it's helping people to kind of create a properly value-adding operations function. I think like we mentioned off camera earlier, I've started noticing a bit of a trend around those more senior operational people, facing redundancy and stuff like that. And I think you have to build a function that can really show how it is generating that revenue, and actually your leadership of that function and that strategy of that function is, do
you think that's feeding into the rise in redundancies within that space? So the lack of ability to be able to actually put onto paper, here's what I made, saved, and did. Yeah,
definitely in some cases. I think in others, the issue that you have is businesses, we're facing a tough time in the sector, right? So we are looking to cut costs where we can. You will kind of get to the point where a really, really senior operations person is going to be expensive to your business. And it's about making sure that the value that they're adding from a strategic perspective is very, very visible.
What's the trend in the replacement of these people? So if I've got an ops person and I get rid of them through redundancy or otherwise, what is the trend? Am I replacing that person, or am I doing it myself?
So what's happening a lot of the time is it's either being replaced with more junior people.
Okay.
So you're again going in with less outlay on your staffing costs.
Which it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You come in, you put in frameworks, you get everything in order, you've got your process logs, everything is now done.
And someone else can run it. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like that is almost like the way that I have seen my life cycle go within my jobs, and actually why now at this point I wanted to move away and do my own thing, because I was like, I have done this multiple times now where you're going in and you're building.
So it's a rinse and repeat, and I can, there's another way to do this.
This is it. Yeah. And I think, the idea is for me was always around build a really strong team underneath me so that actually I can then step away from the business. Because if I'm starting alone and covering everything, what I eventually want to do is I need to have that marketing person, I have that HR person, have that compliance person. And you don't need someone of my level to be managing that on a day-to-day basis unless you're going through serious strategic growth, unless you're building for a sale, unless you're like, there is going to be a process that you need to go through.
But again, what the stats, something like 0.8% of recruitment businesses actually go through to a completed sale.
Yeah.
So that's a fallacy.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of investment firms and PE and VCs have used as a way to hook people into a mentality.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that just doesn't happen as often as people
think.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, and I've said this a couple of times on previous episodes, that I think we're now kind of at the latter end of the sort of decade of the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Where kind of millennials and sort of the generation X above us, we used to set up businesses and so on. And I think we're very much heading into the decade of the freelancer. Because I think for a lot of people, it resonates a lot with people with the whole work-life balance.
Yeah.
I just want my time back. I don't want to be a millionaire. If I can put food on my plate and keep a roof over my head and have enough money to do some fun shit with, that's more important to me. I'm happy with 4 days a week and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I think actually the industry within what you operate within kind of lends itself really well. When you've got a senior ops person, I don't need to work for just one business anymore, right?
Yeah.
I can absolutely be like, do you know what? There's 3 clients I've got. I give them a day a week.
Yeah.
And 1 day a week is all they really need me to do, which is to come in, check everything's in order. Yep, that's fine. And I fire off my invoices to those 3 clients, and I work 3 days a week. And the rest of my time is my time.
Yeah.
And I can spend some of that time on business development. I can spend some of that time on, personal growth or business growth, or just do what the fuck I want.
Yeah.
I could take a pottery class. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's almost, one could argue it's a good thing that it's now, because a lot of people like that, they need a push. They need that push, right? Of, oh crap, what am I going to do now? And it's almost creating new opportunities for yourself by going, I've got a skill set that's useful to a booming industry of 36,000 recruitment agencies. Does a 10-person business like mine last year need an ops person? No. Would my business benefit, and would I have benefited from having somebody 1 day a week say, I'll sort that shit.
Yeah.
I'll do the CRM demos. I'll do make sure the payroll people are doing what they're supposed to be doing and get on the phone to this person and chase that. I'll do all of that.
Yeah.
You just focus on getting the billers billing.
Well, this is it. I think particularly in the kind of market that I work in, which is that kind of SME market, you're exactly right. When you're on that smaller scale, you as a business owner are expected to do everything. Yeah. So you're not just probably billing yourself, hiring internally and then training internally. Mm-hmm. You're having to deal with all of the shit, all of the admin, all of the stuff that goes into that. And there certainly is, I wrote an article on this around who is the right person to hire into your business. And I think ultimately it depends on what your growth journey wants to be. So if you're going into this with an intention of let's grow rapidly, you've got the success stories of, various businesses I won't necessarily mention by name, but we've seen some absolute insanity over the last couple of years. And you're not going to get that from hiring someone who doesn't know what they're doing. No. It is a big upfront investment. I think when you're a business owner, it's quite scary to go, right, here's 50, 60k a year that's going on to someone who I'm not directly going to see generating revenue. But actually it's about looking at that bigger picture and going, if I have these processes in place, if I have someone that can come in and kind of just build that structure straight away, we can crack on with that growth and we're going to be successful.
If that person's doing that leaves me to do this.
Exactly.
It's a funny one. I feel a lot for recruitment business owners because generally speaking, by and large, they are really good recruiters that got confident enough to go and do it for themselves. And, running a business and being a really good salesperson are 2 very different things.
Yes.
But there's no kind of mentorship that's out there for these business owners, right? And so you kind of you almost sort of, which is why I think there's been such a boom in non-exec directors within the recruitment space.
Yeah.
Because there's a massive need for it. And that's not because these recruitment business owners are doing anything wrong. It's just they don't know what they don't know, like you said, right?
Yes.
And so there is that need for mentorship. There is that need for kind of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Genuinely look at what you're doing and decide, is this the best use of my time?
Yeah.
Should I be, if I'm running we had exactly this a year and a half ago when I decided to start focusing on kind of building the RecTools platform. It was, should I even be running a desk?
Yeah.
Because I was.
Is it the best use of your time?
Yeah, and me and my former business partner used to have this out all the time. Because he'd be like, I'm running this desk and I'm helping this person, I'm helping that. And I was like, but why? Why are you running a desk? Because every day you're running that desk, that's every day you're not spending with the team.
Yeah.
Or you're not doing something else, right?
Yeah.
We're at a point now where we shouldn't be running a desk. And it's being able to have that ability to look at it and go, where is my time best used?
Yeah.
Yes, I could run a desk and bill $100 a year. Or I could use my time more effectively in getting 3 consultants billing $100 a year.
Exactly.
Which is worth a lot more.
Yeah.
Which then covers the cost of my $50,000 ops person.
Yeah.
Who's coming in and for lack of a better term, wiping my arse for me because I haven't got the time to.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it all kind of works together, right? In a well-oiled, functioning machine. But how many of those do you ever see?
Well, based on everything I've seen, not a lot.
No, right.
And I think it's also getting your ops people to have this kind of mindset of your job is sales enablement.
Yeah.
How can we be using what our skill set is? So the thing that I love, and I've got such a funny background. So like I did a degree in psychology and neuroscience, right?
Brilliant.
So not many people expected me to be here doing this. But the thing that I really took from that is I was never really interested in like the scientific side of things, but I loved like the psychology of business. And like, for me, it was looking at numbers and data and statistics and working out like how that models into actual behavior. Yeah. So one of the big things that I teach my consultants is around, or teach my mentees, coaches, etc., is around how we can absolutely nail that management information. So how can we really, really dig into the data of the way that a business is performing, how an individual consultant is performing, and essentially hand over to you as a business owner who's training them. And I can go, this person needs training on this, and this is going to increase their output by X. Because a lot of the time, again, if you're in that position where you're doing everything, running desks, training people, it's really difficult to sometimes uncover what the actual blockers are. And you can put a lot of time and effort into training into a particular area. And actually, that was never the problem.
Not the issue.
Like, and that's what I really love.
Or a generic one-size-fits-all training session for everybody. Come on, guys, let's go downstairs.
Yeah.
We'll order some lunch in, and I'll do. And most of them are just not getting anything out of it because actually that's not their area of weakness. Yeah.
The thing that I always say is a lot of I always use this example when I'm talking about like how we look at ratios and stuff like this, where I'm like, you might look at your CV to interview ratio, and it might be too high, and your initial thought is going to be, this person isn't good enough at resourcing, they can't get good enough candidates, etc. So you're going to go and you're going to put a resourcing training session together. But actually, that could not be the reason at all. Yeah. You're actually looking at your business development. You're looking at your client engagement, your client commitment. Has the role been coded properly?
Your candidate process.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the whole thing.
The industry in which you're operating in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to send a lot more caterers to interviews.
Yeah.
Than you do a head of finance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna look at like fill ratios and come in with that mentality, you're always going. But yeah, it's almost like actually the recruitment ops person has got to play that devil's advocate role as well, right?
Yeah.
And kind of stop the business because most business owners, they haven't got that kind of sense checker to go, hold your horses.
Yeah.
Maybe look at this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So I get kind of where you then fit into that, which is let me mentor these guys into being a lot more than just the arsewipers
Yeah.
and the fixers to let me add you some serious value here.
This
I want to
is
give
it.
you data.
It's
you
the
know,
commerciality
dashboards, Kanban
piece.
stuff that you're going to be able to look at and go, holy shit, I didn't
Yeah.
even have time to think about this. That's some really good, interesting insight.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there was a period of time where, you know, last year for a lot of recruitment agencies, it was a tough year.
Yeah.
The ones who did well or kind of like survived at the back end of it were, from what I can see in the conversations I've had, were data-led businesses
Yeah.
who had identified very early on in sort of like early Q2, there's a change coming,
Yeah.
things are slowing down, something's happening, and this isn't just a little blip of a handful of clients stop recruiting.
Yeah.
There's something going on in the market, we need to shift.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of others didn't realise that trend until sort of the start of Q3.
Yeah.
By which point it was way too late, and they burnt through a ton of cash over that summer,
And
thinking things will get better next month.
this is one of my biggest things that I talk about is like how early you need to be catching things.
Yeah.
And actually it's understanding that you can catch it that early. Another one that I always talk about is like performance management, and how some businesses' performance management policies only kick in when it's at 0.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is too late. That is, you can do so much before that point.
And how much damage have you let happen?
Yeah,
Up
to get to that
yeah.
point.
Why it's sort of like going, yeah, the room's on fire, but the house is still up.
Yeah.
You know, let's wait until the house is on fire and then we'll step in. It's sort of, it's so stupid.
It's just, and it really, really surprises me that...
But you'll find those businesses are the ones that use performance management as a way to manage people out of the business.
Exactly.
Not as a way to manage people's performance.
Exactly.
Fundamental difference.
It's the, and to be honest, I've had to check myself with this over like the terminology that I use, and you know, we had to change this at Camino around the performance improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a tool for us to get you out of the business. This is not me starting a HR process that is going to ultimately lead you to lose your job. This is me starting a process that is going to make sure you never hit 0, because we're going to help you and we're going to identify those areas and we're going to get you back up and running before you get to that point. And I think, again, from an operations perspective, it's around sometimes delivering data and management insights that your owners and CEO are not going to want to see. Like sometimes it's having that really, really objective approach to just be like, I'm not putting personal opinion on this. I am just showing you this is what the trend is. This is what's going to happen if we don't do something about this now. And you can choose to do with that what you will, but ultimately, as an ops person, we should be providing that data, and we should be, you know, guiding that process to be like, here's what we can do about this. Let's design an initiative. Let's work out how we're going to remove those blockers, or we're going to improve those processes, whether it's from informing your L&D strategy, or whether it's tying into your marketing. So actually we're noticing a downtrend in this. Well, guess what? Let's go look at our marketing and see, are we attracting the right people? Are we doing the right marketing activities? Or are our marketing activities aimed at completely the wrong type of person?
Have we missed the brief?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
So it's, for me, around building that sales enablement function that is adding true value by giving you management information that is going to allow you to catch those issues early, fix them before it starts having a major impact, and ultimately show you how are you going to increase your revenue. What are all of those little things that you can be tweaking along the way to actually get yourself some serious growth?
Yeah. That's a lot of responsibility for one person, though, right?
Yeah, it is. But also part of this is, you know, I think part of the coaching and the mentoring that I do is also helping people to get that mindset shift, but also working with recruitment business leaders to be like, look, if you, we can do some serious stuff together, but you've got to be on board and you've got to be invested, and you've got to realize that actually, you know, it does make a massive difference if you've got an ops function that is built like this, that's
genuinely
driving,
doing the right thing.
that's generating value and that is putting those foundations in, versus one where you've got minimal investment, you're not providing them with any direction. It's seen as kind of an ops versus sales struggle where it's one versus the other. They're not integrated. They're not
the same. But these businesses will have exactly the same argument with sales versus marketing. They'll have exactly the same argument with their sales and their finance team not getting on.
Yeah.
Because it's constantly like an internal struggle rather than them all kind of going towards the same route, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a, for me, I'm like, that's a top tier vision leadership problem. Like you need to have a really clear vision for your business, and every single person, no matter what position they are in, needs to know what part they've got to play. And what that vision is longer term, and having your non-sales people be able to see that actually there is the global COO role that's available in X amount of years, providing the business hits these milestones. Well, they're going to be more motivated
you play a part in delivery of taking
to
this
drive
business
that
from local to national to international.
Exactly. So for me, it's working with the business owners to help them to understand what that path looks like for your ops person. Because like you say, if you've never had that person in your business before, how do you know what they should be doing? How do you know what is the difference between an ops manager, a head of, an ops director?
What looks good, what doesn't look good, what works, what doesn't work, all sorts of, there's so much to it, isn't there? But, do you think that sort of, fundamentally, the issue kind of seems to lie with sort of business vision and business direction, right? And that's kind of fed from sometimes a lack of understanding and awareness, and sometimes just sort of kind of a lack of funding or whatever. But do you think that there'll ever be a point where sort of a recruitment ops person can and should be running the entire business, allowing that kind of business owner to focus on international growth strategy, or collaboration opportunities, or investors and that kind of thing? Because surely that's a better use of that person's time, especially if I'm paying on, and you're on my payroll for being an ops manager or ops director, and you've got goals and visions and ambitions of being a COO. Well, surely I should hand that baton over to you and go, right, while you do that and get the day-to-day in, I can then look at vision, future, strategy, exit.
Well, I think this is that classic thing. I've been loving, I don't know if you've seen the graphic that's been going around recently, which is the CEO, CFO, COO.
No.
Right?
No.
So it's a really good graphic. I've seen a couple of people put different versions of it up.
Right.
But it's basically looking at, actually, when you're at those board level positions, who should actually be responsible for what? And ultimately, your CEO is that visionary leader, right? They are the person that is the face of the company from a leadership perspective. They are the ones that are kind of thinking about what that future is, internationalization, new brands, etc., etc.
Mergers, acquisitions, all of that stuff.
This is it. Your COO is the person who takes that and turns it into something real, who takes that vision and puts that strategy behind it as to what do we need to change internally as a business to actually be able to achieve that. And your CFO is the person who is ultimately looking at like the financial viability of that, the due diligence around it, is this something that we can achieve with the current financial state of the business? What financial position do we need to be in to do that? But the COO is like, how do we make those changes to achieve that? And, what a really interesting thing for me, as I've been speaking to various different clients over the last sort of 6-7 weeks, is some businesses genuinely don't have an operational strategy, and they're not looking at how they're achieving their business objectives. So they put a fee target on the board, and everyone is focused on this is, we need to hit this number, but there has been no sort of breakdown of if that is possible. And, you know, sometimes those numbers are just picked from the air. And it's like, you're going to be really disappointed and demotivated. And the people, are, you know, that are employed by you are going to think that you guys don't have the ability to do this. But it's because you've not looked at how you're actually going to deliver it.
It's funny you say that. We had a similar situation when we were kind of setting targets and stuff for our recruitment business. And some of the figures that my business partner was putting up on the board, I was kind of like, where are you getting these numbers from?
Yeah.
I was like, well, you know, if everybody does this, and I was like, but nobody has billed 10 grand a month consistently for 3 months.
Yeah.
Nobody. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you're setting them an objective that they're never going to meet, and therefore they're going to feel worse about their performance.
Yeah.
You're then working out your kind of financial forecasting based on them hitting these numbers that are
not going to happen
in the first place.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's all a fallacy, right? And he was like,
exactly.
But you know, and I remember kind of going, like, we're not Michael Page. You're setting targets that we had at Michael Page.
Yeah.
Michael Page have got years of brand, years of PSLs, thousands of staff.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that.
Yeah.
So how about we be realistic and say, do you know what? If Jim can put $3 grand fee on the board and cover his wage and the cost of his computer equipment for that month, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And now how do we take him from that to go, let's try and get a $4.5 grand fee next time, you know?
Yeah.
Your fee's 15%. Let's try and work that up to 20%.
Exactly,
realistically, I'm not going to get you to go from 1 fee a month to 2 fee a month in a short space of time because that's not possible. Yeah. What is possible, though, is for me to train you on negotiating your fee better.
Exactly.
Let's get you from 15% fees to 17.5%. And then take that 17.5 up to 20. Let's work on kind of measurable, smaller chunks, right? But yeah, I witnessed what you're saying, and I was sort of like, fucking hell. Like, this is where people go wrong, because like Sean, for all his flaws, was a great recruiter and a great salesperson. But when it comes to things like that and financial forecasts and numbers and stuff, like, he'd do things like that, and I'd just be sitting there scratching my head thinking, these are just not achievable. Yeah. Like, this is stupid. Like, we're going to look at that board every day and get pissed off at ourselves and the team. Yeah. Rather than celebrating, we're going to be constantly on them like, guys, they're 30 grand behind target this year, for this month. Well, of course they are. Yeah. The target's fucking 60 grand. Yeah. We should be celebrating the 30 that they've done. Instead, we're shitting on them for not hitting the other 30 that they missed.
This is it. And I think it's from when sort of business owners and stuff, they get this overall figure. And actually, what I will say is this was something that Camino were always great at, because one of Camino's founders is a CFO. Like, he is an accountant by trade. So the way that we were set up and the way that we, you know, looked at our financials was actually, you know, it was so robust, it was so sensible, you know, it was really, we were set up in a really, really secure way. Yeah. And part of it is that, you know, we looked at the individuals, what we're expecting those individuals, and built it from there, rather than going, we want to build £5 million.
Now, how is that over my 50 people that work there? Yeah.
And it's like, well, guess what? That person is never going to build that amount.
And you're holding this person to the same standards as this person, not accounting for the market they're in, the experience they've got, the candidate database they're working on, the desk like warmth. Yeah. Nothing at all. No, just nice and easy then, isn't it? Yeah. Take that figure and just divide it by the number of staff we've got.
And I think it's by not, like I said, the big thing for me is by not involving your operational people as part of that conversation means that they can't, you know, give you that insight into, actually, I think we need to slightly change the way that we're doing this. Or
they know the people.
Exactly.
They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, they know what works and doesn't work with that particular. And there's your value.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the data, you know, one of the things that I would always look at is, okay, so fair enough, we're going to get this amount from this person, but how much of that is coming from existing business? How much of that is coming from new business? Because there is no way, we know it's not all coming from existing business. Are they skilled enough to bring in that chunk from new business? Do they have the skill set? Are they actually able to go out and to win those clients? Yeah. So you then get to put in a much more strategic process to be like, actually, if we're looking at X amount of revenue this year, and we know that we need to bring in £1 million from new business. Well, guess what? We start in January on our strategic business development training, our roadmaps, all of that kind of stuff. We don't wait till July and then go, oh, we've actually not brought in any new business because we didn't work out at the start if our staff were actually going to be able to achieve that. And by that point, it is too late. You need to have that kind of, that management information, that data insight straight away when you're coming into the year to be like, we need to fix this before it's a problem.
Yeah, and be willing to act on it.
Yeah.
I think that's a really solid point to finish on.
Yeah.
What have you got going on? Here's your chance to plug your shit. Camera's there.
Oh, right. Okay. So, hitting the microphone.
You got your WhatsApp group you want people adding into.
Yeah. So, do you know what? I've got a few things. I've also got some kind of exciting exclusive news that I'll share with you guys in a minute as well. So, in terms of what I'm doing, I've set up RecOps Consultancy, which is basically me doing board level advisory, also project-based stuff for those SME recruitment businesses. We've got the Recruitment Ops Mentoring. So this is a training program that is a mixture of practical workshops, coaching and mentoring around building careers, but also filling in those skills gaps, actually helping people to drive their recruitment businesses forward. And then the final thing that actually, this is going to be a bit of an exclusive. I've joined forces with another absolutely insanely fantastic ops director in the recruitment sector called Shari De Silva. And we have essentially decided to somewhat combine our respective businesses to come up with what we're essentially describing as the one-stop shop ops platform.
Amazing.
Which is everything that you will need from a resources perspective. We're going to be moving the community group over there. So like I said, we've got the WhatsApp group. If you want to join that, send me a message. We'll get you added in. But this is going to have all of your documents, all of your templates, every kind of resource that you are going to need to set up any policy, any process within your recruitment business. We're then going to have actual training that goes alongside that. So this will be, training documents, training videos that actually talk you through how to implement that into your business. So understanding what are the risks, what are the things that you need to be thinking of, and also tips and tricks for how you implement it. And then a whole sort of careers planning portal. So understanding what are those differences between ops manager, COO. What should you be looking at? What objectives should you be putting into place? How do you need to develop? And then we'll also be having experts from the sector come in and talk about their respective fields in terms of, if you're an ops person that's doing marketing, you're not necessarily going to be an expert in marketing, but let's get a marketing expert to come and tell you what is the best way to do X, Y, Z. So we're going to be launching that. We've put out the first sort of couple of teaser posts, but we're going to be launching that hopefully March time. Cool. And it's going to be hopefully revolutionising the way recruitment ops is currently working.
Sounds promising. It certainly does. Yeah, no, it's good. The speaking as a former recruitment business owner, there definitely needs to be more people like you guys that are really kind of just educating. Yeah, so 100%. That's really cool. No, I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you can go over to Hinckley and see.
No, don't tell them that because I'm not going to see my family.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was good.
Perfect.